Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going through my thought process on how I come up with a sketch section and details. This is a small little house extension project which I'd done quite a while ago. And what we have here is the client wanting to remove the external existing wall so that he can have a really nice open plan kitchen living room space. In order to achieve this, I've had to put in a steel frame so that it can support the existing wall above and also support two incoming beams which are also supporting the new and existing walls above. So this new steel frame is a very key element to this whole extension. In this instance, the architect hasn't actually provided a section through where I want it, so this is why I'm coming up with my own section first before moving on to the details. By drawing the section firsthand, you actually get a very good understanding of the problem or the situation that you've got. When I do a sketch section like this, I probably won't be sketching to scale, but it's going to be a rough scale. So in this sketch, every 2 squares is going to be roughly 1 meter, and that's what I'm going to be kind of basing the sketch on. So when you sketch the things that you want to see. What are the most critical things? So in this instance here, I know I'm forming an opening in the existing wall. So just to get the proportions right, I'm basically just drawing a box to show the opening. And this is essentially setting up the scene of your problem. So now that I've drawn out the opening size, I can start filling it out with the steel frame. When I'm sketching, I try to only draw what I think is going to be necessary to benefit the reader of the sketch. I quite like to show any surrounding structure which might be impacted by the new structure. So in this instance, the walls on either side is going to be important to show. This is just a very quick hatch which I'm doing to show that this is a large panel of masonry. We also have steel beams connecting into this large steel frame. So I think it's going to be quite important that I show this on the sketch. And remember, this is a section through, so you don't have to go into loads of detail when you're drawing the steel beams. That can be done later if you're going into a much more detailed sketch. Adding in some hatching or some colour is also a great way to enhance your sketches, and it just sort of makes your sketch pop out a bit more. Do try and remember that when you're cutting through a section, you want to imagine yourself standing there and trying to visualize what you would see if you were stood in that exact point. It's obviously quite difficult to visualize because it's not actually there and you're not on site, but that's the skill which you need to learn is if I cut a section here, what am I going to see and how am I going to show the reader of my sketch what I'm trying to propose. Even though this section looks a bit plain, this is the skeleton of your section, and based on this you can actually start working out what other details you might want to draw to show some more information to help the contractor out. So my thought process would be, okay, I think it'll be really important that I show a base plate detail, and then I think it would also be really important to show a steel beam to column connection, because I know it's going to be a moment frame, so it's going to be really important that the plates and bolts they use are in the right position. I also think it's going to be really important that I show a section through in the opposite direction to show how these incoming steel beams are going to interact with our main steel frame. So now that you've actually drawn the section and you've worked out where you want to draw some additional details, you can start fleshing out your section by adding in notes, labeling up the beams and the columns. The notes and annotations are really important, and it's a really good opportunity to show the contractor or the architect or whoever's reading it where you've made assumptions or where there are places where you don't know, or if any areas you need further investigating on site. This is a great place to show where you've assumed something and where you want additional information. I mentioned earlier that adding colour can really make your sketches pop out a lot more, and I think in this instance, I think adding in some colour will definitely help make the sketch a lot clearer. And that is essentially how I come up with my sketch sections and details. I'm going to show you the actual sort of sketch section drawing which I did, and it's got details plastered all over it, because as I'm working on it, I'm thinking, oh, I actually need to add a little bit more detail to make sure that it's crystal clear to the contractor what's going on and to make sure that they build it correctly. So this is the actual sketch section and details which I issued out to the client. I started off initially with only doing detail A and B, but then I added in the section, and then the section led to doing some more connection details just to show more clarity. So you can see why just by starting off with a sketch section it can evolve into something like this. So you can see from the section that it's pretty much the same as what I'd shown earlier, except I added in some different colours for the foundations. The blue is for the new piles I'm going to install, and also the darker grey is also new sort of ground beams. I spent a little bit of extra time doing the hatching for the surrounding wall just to make it really clear, but I think in all honesty that's probably a bit overkill, but you know, does look nice. So let's have a look at detail A, which is the base plate. And what I've done is just blown up that little section, shown where my resin anchors are going to go, and also I've taken a section through the top of the base plate so that you can see exactly where the bolts are going to go on plan. Detail B is a connection detail showing how the beam connects to the column, and normally I wouldn't show a beam to column connection detail, but in this instance, because the frame is a moment frame and I'm going to need moment connections, I think it's really important that I show the stiffener and also the exact position of the bolts. And finally, a section through the main steel frame showing the intersection where I've got two incoming beams fixed to the main steel frame. Originally I didn't actually have this detail, but when I kind of sketched it out quickly, it soon became clear that I did need to draw this detail because of how involved it would be, and your kind of bog standard contractor may not understand it, so I thought drawing a section would make it really clear. And having drawn the main section through, I needed to draw some additional connection details just to make sure that he gets the bolts in the right place. So you can see how from just doing a simple sketch section, how it can quickly evolve into adding so much more detail to show exactly what you're trying to do. You can try and imagine if you didn't do these sketch sections or details, how difficult it would be to put all the information that you want just on a plan drawing. So if you can remember that the more detail that you show on your drawings, the less hassle you'll get from the contractor or the architect or the client, the better your life will become. And the clearer your drawings are or your sketches are going to be, the likelihood of mistake from the contractor building it is going to be far less. So spend the time doing your sketches or your drawings and you'll find yourself in a much happier place. If you found this video useful, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers!